Am I audible?
Yes, we are live.
Hello everyone, welcome to a Q&A series. I'm your host Shifa and today we have with us Mr. Nitin Shah, who will answer doubts and questions regarding the cognitive psychotherapy approach that we at ICHARS follow. Before we begin, I would like to quickly introduce our organization. ICHARS is dedicated to enabling coaches and mental health practitioners to develop advanced coaching and therapeutic skills with comprehensive step-by-step trainings, ongoing supports, and mentorship. If you are a coach or a mental health practitioner looking for practical and structured techniques that adapt to the requirement of your client, you would love the courses offered by ICHAS. To learn more about the available courses, we invite you to visit the ICHAS website or get in touch with our course coordinator. An integral part of ICHAS. ICHAS is ICHAS Support Foundation. It is a non-profit organization with a clear mission to establish a holistic network that connects, supports, and empowers stakeholders within the mental health landscape. These stakeholders encompass a diverse range, including the general public, psychologists, psychology students, NGOs, and government bodies. There are multiple initiatives that ICHA Support Foundation undertakes from time to time. The ongoing initiatives include Project Mehak, which is mental and emotional health awareness through knowledge. It is an initiative to facilitate the destigmatizing of mental health, creating awareness about the importance of mental health and providing effective tools and techniques that can be applied by people at large to stay emotionally and mentally healthy. Sorry. The next is Project Rainshine, where we train the mentors, staff of NGOs with skills, sorry, to provide mental health first aid to their beneficiaries and connect them to mental health practitioner. The practitioner which are trained by ICHARS to offer advanced mental health support where required. The next is Visit MHP, a peer learning and a support community for psychologists and psychology students. We conduct monthly therapeutic case discussions and webinars for psychologists and psychology students and offer additional learning resources like worksheet, pre-recorded courses, and more. We also offer subsidized therapy to psychology students by practitioners who have undergone advanced training. The first discovery sessions is free and the subsequent sessions are highly subsidized. So if you are a psychology student looking to benefit from this, we'll be sharing the forms in the chat box. You can fill that. The next, every month we host webinars, workshops, and contests on various psychology related topics. So keep an eye on our social media channels, that is iCharts Online and Visit MHP for announcement about the same. Now, a quick introduction about our expert. Nitin Shah is the CEO of iCharts and director of iCharts Support Foundation. He is also one of the few people in the world who are who has been able to seamlessly integrate different approaches of psychology, be it cognitive, behavioral, humanistic, and psychodynamics, into a comprehensive eclectic approach and offered it as a structure course. Today, we have with us our psychology interns who would be asking their doubts related to the masterclass of eclectic psychotherapy approach. I would like to request our viewers who are watching us on the social platforms to put their questions in the comment box and we will surely take them up. So, sir, should we start with our first question?
Yes, we can. So thank you everyone once again for joining us for the session today, especially the ones who are following us on social chat platforms. While we answer the questions from all the interns, if you have any follow-up questions, do put it on the chat box in whichever social platform you are, and I'll take that up as we go along. Shifa?
Yeah. So, the first question, what will be covered in this course?
Oh, okay. So that's a question about the training program.
Yeah.
So what will be covered? That's a question that requires a big answer. I'll try to summarize it as much as I can right now. So overall, the course contains 4 different levels. Each level focuses on different skill sets that you develop in the program. Level 1 will revolve around structured techniques to help you take a solution focused interview, helping you identify what are the tasks and triggers that the clients are struggling with, using a combination of hypnosis, CBT, and NLP to help people restructure their thoughts and their emotions so that they're able to manage their triggers better in combination with being able to work towards their outcome. So at the end of level 1, the objective is that you are able to induce any willing person in a hypnotic state using a step-by-step structured process take a comprehensive interview, and help them work towards achieving their goals using restructuring of thoughts and emotions. Level 2 goes beyond the structure that you've learned in level 1. So in level 1, you learn text scripts, structures. In level 2, you learn how those structures were created. And then you learn how to modify and adapt those structures to fit the requirements of the clients. The idea basically is in level 1, you're new, so we need to handhold you more. In level 2, you need to be able to create processes which will adapt to the requirements of the clients. So it becomes a more person-centered approach from level 2 onwards. You'll also learn about conversational hypnosis, applying it in coaching, therapy, its application in content development, promotions, marketing, and all of that. You'll also learn about metaphors, storytelling, its application in coaching and therapy. There are specific techniques, strategies that you will use. Many of them you've already done in terms of at least an introduction in this internship. But more hands-on training for all of those things is covered as a part of the course. Then we move to identifying and working with unconscious beliefs, values, positive intentions. There are techniques like instant reframing, levels of transformation, which are all covered that you will practice as a part of your level 2. So by the end of level 2, we expect you to be able to work with all kinds of life coaching issues, which means help people set their goals, achieve their goals in the fastest way possible by addressing whatever their thoughts and emotional blockages are. Level 3 and level 4, on the other hand, go more into intense negative emotions and disorders. And that's the reason why eligibility criteria has been put for those levels. You need to be from a master's in psychology background before you can enroll for a level 3 and level 4. Level 3 and level 4 will go into intense negative emotions, disorders, issues where you need to tap into past experiences, traumas, phobias. So any place where you need to tap into intense emotions and help the client address them. Those are all parts of level 3 and level 4. Also, components of what people will call as abnormal psychology, parapsychology would become a part of level 3 and level 4. Majorly level 4. That's the overall course approach. During 1 to 4, you learn more than 80 concepts, more than 50 change processes, techniques, more than 35 diagnostic tools. So there is a lot that you end up learning between level 1 to level 4. Most importantly, you learn a framework within which you can fit everything. So, like I said, you're learning more than 85 diagnostic tools and change processes. For me to practically ask you to remember all of them is asking for too much. So you need some kind of a groundwork, some kind of a blueprint that you can use to decide what technique, what process will be used where. So you get all of those as a part of the course. And then obviously you continue remaining in touch with us. So any place where you get stuck, you need help, we are there to help you and guide you in the entire process. You also have the option to join us for our free fellowship, where a mentor is assigned to you who works with you on a weekly basis to ensure that, one, you are able to set up your private practice effectively. Any challenges that you are facing in being able to set up the practice, generate your clients, they help you, support you in that entire journey. Second, you also learn to then work with extended things. So in course, the focus is on one-to-one sessions. Fellowship, the focus is also on all the additional skills that you will require, like conducting webinars, workshops, creating content, which will all be useful in eventually helping you generate more clients for your one-to-one sessions, right? So the fellowship becomes literally like a end-to-end program, which not just focuses on you being able to develop skills, but actually be able to set up your private practice and make this a emotionally, financially fulfilling career. We don't charge anything extra for the fellowship, except for what you pay for level 1 to level 4. But it's an optional thing because there's time commitment. We expect you to give at least 10 to 12 hours every week for the fellowship, because that will include your interaction with your mentors. You will have practice partners. You'll have to practice with them on a weekly basis. You will have certain content that you will create for your own promotion and so on. So overall, it will take you around 10 to 12 hours of commitment per week. So it's an optional thing, but if you're getting started, I would really recommend that you should join that particular fellowship. I think I've more or less covered the broad idea of everything that we cover, but specific techniques and everything, if you want to know, just download the course prospectus. There's a very elaborate prospectus that we have on the website. So that should give you a lot more details. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to ask and I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, we can go ahead.
The next question, what is miracle questioning?
So remember right now I mentioned that in level 1 you learn to take a solution focused interview. Now, the way we take the solution focused interview, a part of it is borrowed from how SFBT looks at things. Solution focused brief therapy asks clients to explore what would their future look like once they've achieved the outcome. One of the ways to help the client explore that future is the miracle question. Now, in miracle question, you tell the client that today we have started working with each other. So let's assume while you go off to sleep tonight, a miracle takes place. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up, you are transported into a future where you've already achieved your outcome. But you time traveled while you were sleeping, which means when you wake up in the morning, you don't know that you've achieved your outcome, that you're in this future. So, what will you see? What will you hear? What will you notice in your life? Which will be an indicator that you've achieved your outcome. This basically becomes a very good way of helping the clients explore their future in more tangible sensory manner rather than the client just saying that I'll be very happy in future, because that doesn't really tell us anything. But if a client says that I'll wake up in the morning and I'll see a smile on my face, I will notice that I'm actually sitting with my family and having my breakfast, which is a sign that I'm feeling far better as compared to earlier. Now, these are more observable behavioral indicators which can be mapped and that you can actually help the client work towards. So that's a miracle question, to ask the client to consider a miracle where they have achieved their outcome in the future and then explore what that future looks like.
The next question. So remember the case of B, who cheated on their partner and was then later guilty about it. My question is, if B is guilty, then that's probably because B realizes that they did something wrong, right? So now I'm assuming this difference of right and wrong was always there. So why do people often end up doing things they know they might regret later? Like staying in a toxic relationship when they realize their partner is toxic. Uh, Given they are not financially dependent on their partner, does it have something to do with this belief? If yes, then how?
See, why people choose to remain in a particular state or choose to continue doing things that they know have a potential to either create a problem or make them regret really depends upon what situation they are in and what they are getting by remaining in that situation. For example, someone who is in a toxic relationship may be in a toxic relationship because they're financially dependent on their partner. But like in the question you mentioned, that what if they're not financially dependent? So now I'm putting aside the practical, realistic concerns that people may have. Though those reasons may still not be justifiable. In the sense, if someone says that I'm financially dependent on my partner, you can always work towards becoming financially independent. So you may not move out of the relationship immediately, but you can still plan for it. But practical reasons are never really as much of a problem, because practical things can always be addressed through practical steps. The reasons where people continue doing what they continue doing, in spite of at times knowing that what they are doing will create a problem, is because a part of them either identifies with being in that situation or derives some benefit knowingly or unknowingly out of that situation. Right? Now, what would that benefit be? That depends from people to people. And it's very difficult to answer that unless you have a process with which the client can explore it. Because many times what the client thinks consciously may not be the benefit that they are getting unconsciously. To give you an example, someone who comes and says that, so let's say you have a friend around you who's in a toxic relationship. They know they are in a toxic relationship. They've come and complained to you that I'm really, at times, I feel very miserable in this relationship. You've told them, so then why not move out? But they don't. Why are they not moving out? Because some of them may either have this hope that my partner will change one day. So they are in that toxic relationship out of a hope of a better future. Now, whether that hope is reasonable, unreasonable, that again is a different discussion. There are other people who are in that situation because they're afraid that at least they have this person in their life, otherwise they'll be lonely. So that fear of being lonely keeps them in a relationship which is actually not working for them, but somewhere in their head there's a feeling that at least it's better than being alone. There are certain people who remain in that situation because they feel, I don't know whether I'll be able to face the society or not. Facing the society actually has nothing to do with practical reason. Facing the society is what will people say. So if I am uncomfortable with that idea, what will people say? Then the chances are I'll continue doing what I am currently doing, or at least I'll, for the world, pretend that this is all working out fine for me. Then there could be other reasons. There are certain people who derive a lot of sympathy out of constantly complaining that they're in a bad state. And that sympathy gives them a feeling that they're getting a lot of attention. Right? Now, if they move out of the toxic relationship, they can't complain. If they can't complain, they can't get that sympathy and attention that they're getting right now. At least that's how their mind perceives it. Now, is this necessarily true? The answer is maybe no. If they move out of the relationship, they may get into a far better relationship where they will get so much attention for positive behavior that they wouldn't need to depend on any of this. But whoever said that the mind always operates rationally doesn't really know much about the mind. Right? There are a lot of these factors that are driven by unconscious emotions, feelings that you may try to justify logically, but there's really a lot that's happening in the background. So those are many of the reasons why people continue doing what they continue doing. And then some of them will start at a conscious level looking at justifiable reasons to do that. I hope that answers your question. If you have a follow-up question, you can ask me. So a bigger question for me is actually, what do we do with a client like this who comes to us for a session? So if a client comes to me, tells me that I'm really miserable and I'm in a very bad state in a relationship, my partner really mistreats me, how do I work with this client? I can't tell the client to either be in the relationship or move out of the relationship. That's not my choice. That's a choice that the client has to make. So my question to the client is, first, describe the future that you would like to create for yourself. Remember the SFBT question we spoke about? They describe the future. In order to create this future, what kind of a relationship you need to be in? Let the client describe the nature of that relationship. For you to create a relationship like this, what are the skills and the states that you require? That, I need to have this skill and then I will be able to create this kind of a relationship. Make a note of those skills. Help them develop those skills. Once they develop those skills, one of two things will happen. Either they will have the skills which will help them establish and execute boundaries with their partners effectively, in which case the partner will actually begin to remain within their boundaries and all the toxicity will reduce to a large extent. Or the client at some point will realize, I have done what I can and I need to move out. And they would have the skill to actually be able to move out of the relationship without feeling the baggage of what will go wrong if I move out, because they realize that moving out is still a better choice. Right? So identifying that relationship, the nature of relationship that they want to develop, the skills that they require, and then help them work on those skills will eventually help the client create the kind of change they need to create. Whether it will be with the same partner or another partner, that I can't say. That also depends on the partner.
So the next question, what is end-step framing?
End-step reframing is a process where we help clients identify their positive intentions or work with their positive intentions. Right? The overall process flow is like this. Okay, so first, the underlying concept in the process is that every behavior that the client is indulging in, where they're indulging in that behavior consistently, that behavior has a positive intention. Otherwise, they will not be indulging in it. So when a client comes and tells you, I want to change a behavior that I'm not able to change, what does this really mean? That a part of me recognizes this behavior is not good for me and therefore I want to change it. But another part of me is just ensuring that this behavior continues on an autopilot. Right? So now there's an internal conflict that's happening within me between a part that wants to continue with the behavior because it's getting something in return that's important for it, and another part which realizes, but this behavior is not in my overall interest. Reframing is about connecting with the part which is holding on to this particular behavior, identifying from this part what is it that it's getting through this behavior, helping the part brainstorm to find other ways of fulfilling the same positive intention. And then transition them into the new behaviors so that they are no longer dependent on the old behavior. Right? And there's a complete process that goes into it where you induce them in a hypnotic state, they connect with that part, they have a conversation with that part. So it's literally like having a conversation with a part of you. A very, very powerful process when it comes to any observable behaviors, be it external or internal. It can be with respect to procrastinating specific behaviors, addictions, eating habits. It can also be internal behaviors like psychosomatic aches, pains, psychosomatic allergies. For all of these things, reframing is very, very powerful and it's very effective. I've just completed a workshop right now where we have, in the workshop, I took a demo of someone for a constant sneezing every morning. And they've tried everything medical that they can and it's not stopped. So today we have done the process. Let's see tomorrow, day after tomorrow, what results we come. So those are the things where you can use reframing, where probably everything else for you will fail.
The next question. Can hypnosis is an effective is an online session as in an offline one?
Online, offline doesn't make much of a difference. See, remember, when you're working with a client, if you're talking about traditional hypnosis where the client has to close their eyes and then they have to be relaxed and so on, their eyes are closed, they're already relaxed. How does it matter to them whether you're sitting in front of them or talking to them via a screen? They are only listening to your voice. So really, whether you're physically present in front of them makes no difference in terms of the therapy process. Right? What is important is a couple of things. One, the internet connection has to be stable. If the internet connection is not stable, then you can't do online therapy. But then ideally, you can't do online therapy any which ways in that case, whether it's hypnosis or not. Right? All the more when it comes to hypnosis. Second, the client, when they are working with you online, needs to have a space where they will not, where people will not be peeping into what they are doing. So the client needs to have a space where their privacy can be maintained. Right? I'm not asking a place which needs to be quiet and there is no one over there and that there are no sounds in the background. All of that is okay. But it should not so happen that the client is having a conversation with you and someone is sitting over there to listen to know what client is saying. Then the client will not be comfortable having a conversation with you. Right? Or it should not so happen that the client is in a conversation with you or in a session with you and someone comes in between and says, "Acha sunna, mere ko tere se baat karni hai." Then there is a problem. So as long as the client can have that space where there will no one who will be disturbing them during that 1 hour of session, their internet connection is stable, right? There is really no difference between online and offline. If anything, I prefer online simply for a reason that making notes becomes easier. Sharing those notes with clients become easier. If you're doing a hypnotic session which you need to record and share with the client so that the client can listen to it, then you can, for example, when you're doing it on Zoom, you can just record it. In fact, you don't even need to record it. You can give the client the permission to record it. The client can record it and keep it with themselves. So even that is not a problem of recording. Therapist के पास है, confidentiality, किसी और ने तो नहीं देखा. Everything remains with the client themselves. So there are a lot of added advantage of working online as long as the internet connection is stable and the clients can have privacy. Apart from that, there's not much of a difference.
Okay, so that was the last question.
So most of my clients who were offline were transitioned online during COVID any which ways, right? There were a couple of clients who were not comfortable online because they'd never tried online. Then during one of the meetings, the client came. We are living in a city like Bombay. Traffic at times can be a huge pain, right? The client comes, the client is 45 minutes late. So the client says, "I'm really sorry," and so on. And the client looks at me and says, "So I now understand why you insist on online therapy. I think from next time onwards, I will prefer an online session. It just saves me a lot of time and effort and hassle." So be it. Clear till here? Okay. Any questions till here now? Any other case, any other follow-up question that you would like to ask, just feel free to ask. No other questions?
There's a question in the chat.
Someone has a question. Shifa, आप पढ़ लेंगे, please.
Yeah, sure. So, like you said, when you know the person needs sympathy, and that's why complain about the relationship rather than living or fixing it, how to respond to them?
Depends on whether it's a client or whether it's a friend. If it's a friend, there's not much that you can do except for keep telling them that if this is not working for you, move. Right? If it's a client, then I've already shared with you that work with helping them identify what their future relationship looks like that they want to create. What skills do they require to be able to create that relationship? Help them work on those skills. Those skills will eventually help the clients develop self-confidence, self-acceptance, self-love, and all of those. But there will be a byproduct of the fact that the client is working towards developing the skills that are required. And once the client experiences all of that, then the client will not remain in a toxic relationship. Then it becomes practically impossible to remain in a toxic relationship. Either the client will be able to take efforts to be able to change the nature of the relationship where they are able to establish those boundaries effectively, right? Or they will move out of the relationship. But that can only happen if the client has those that confidence and the skills to be able to work towards creating a better relationship, and the confidence that they will be able to apply those skills. And that can only happen, in order to do that, the byproducts will be self-love, self-acceptance, all the other self things that we talk about, except being selfish. Well, maybe including being selfish to an extent.
Another question in the chat box about B case. I didn't quite understand why they will cheat when they know they will regret it later. Also, how to address such guilt.
Okay. Why would they cheat knowing that they will regret it later? One, they may not know that they would regret it later initially when they cheated. That is one, right? Second, at times people overestimate their ability to control and manage guilt. So when they are, or regret, when they are getting into some events like this, the immediate gratification at times is so strong that they feel that if I'm feeling so good, I'll be able to manage guilt or regret बाद में देखेंगे. पर वो जब बाद में होता है, then they realize that this is becoming a bigger problem. By then, because they've already cheated, there's also the fear that I may get caught. And the combination of fear and guilt is a very bad combination. Okay? So that could be one of the reasons. But then there are also other places, right? There are people who are in personally, they feel they're in a miserable relationship at one level because they are committed to their partner and commitment is important to them. One part of them does not want to cheat. But there's another part of them which is just not getting what it wants from the relationship. And when it gets it from someone else, in that moment, the comfort, the feeling, the affection feels so strong that they get flown away with the emotions. In a way, it's similar to someone who says that I know smoking will kill me, but I still smoke. There are so many people who smoke, they feel guilty about smoking, but they still smoke. And they're not able to control that smoke because that gratification of having that cigarette at that moment, or whatever purpose that cigarette is serving, is so strong that long-term consequences become irrelevant in that moment, right? So those are the reasons why people can cheat in spite of the fact that they may not want to cheat. Now, how do you help the client address this guilt? So how do you help the client address this guilt is, first, help the client recognize that they are the ones who are acknowledging that they've made a mistake and they're feeling guilty about it. So once the client recognizes that, then move into flip. In flip, what is the solution for guilt? Remember, we say I regret or guilt, the solution becomes that I need to learn from my past experiences so that I don't make the same mistake again. So what can I learn from that experience that will prevent me from creating the same mistake again? So if a client says that, in that moment, I don't think I was able to manage the emotions that I had. I had a big fight with my partner, and I went out. I just got so much of attention from the other person that I felt as if I was swept off my feet. So, how do I manage my emotions even after I've had a conflict with my partner, so that I'm able to remain objective in future, which will be one learning. Second, there are some people who would say that, I just, because it felt so good, I knew I wanted to say no, but I just couldn't say no. How do I learn to say no in situations like that? Third, there could also be that we had a lot of drink, and I don't think I was completely in my senses, though it was consensual, but it was not that I was completely making reasonable choices. Then I also need to learn to not have too much of drink, especially after I've had a fight with my partner. Right? So all of those then becomes the criteria and ways that we need to keep in mind. And then once the client recognizes that there's still a problem between them and their partner, which has eventually led to all of this, you will need to help them find better ways of resolving those problems. Once you've done all of that, then comes the last part where you help them address the guilt by using some release process, and help them do a future pacing where they are able to apply the learnings and the skills that they've developed during the process or during the course of the therapy session, so that the same problems don't get repeated again in future. I hope that answers your question. The technique that you will use will be hypnodrama, perceptual position. So perceptual position to understand what went wrong, what you can do differently in future. Hypnodrama to release the past experience to do future pacing. When then statements and anchoring, which are standard that you do with most clients anyway. Right? If you have a follow-up question, please feel free to ask in the chat box. Kushwal, you can use your mic to ask your questions if you would like to. That's completely okay. Any of you can unmute yourself and ask the questions. Just give me one moment before you ask the question. हाँ शिफा, sorry. So Kushwal, you were asking a question. आप कुछ पूछ रहे थे?
गुड इवनिंग सर.
Good evening.
सर एक्चुअली एक सिचुएशन है, मेरा एक स्टूडेंट है, उसके ना एग्जाम हो रहे थे, उसकी मास्टर्स का कोर्स है, उसका एग्जाम्स हो रहे थे, और जिस दिन उसका एग्जाम था ना, उससे 30 मिनट्स पहले ना उसे एक नोटिस आता है जो कि वैसे तो फेक है, जो किसी कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम का है, पर उसे पता भी था कि वो फेक है, पर फिर भी जब उसका एग्जाम था ना जो मास्टर्स वाला, उसमें वो सारे एग्जाम में ब्लैंक ही बैठा रहा, क्योंकि उसके ना माइंड में यही चलता रहा कि वो एग्जाम का नोटिस था, उसे पता था कि फेक है, पर फिर भी वही चलता रहा और एग्जाम में कुछ भी नहीं लिख के आया. तो सर एक्चुअली ऐसी सिचुएशन में कैसे गाइड कर सकते हैं हम?
Okay. So ये तो खैर he knew that the mail or the notice was wrong, but this can also happen with someone where the notice is actually correct. Like you're going for a very important presentation and all of a sudden you have got a email saying that you need to report for something else, right? So this is not just whether the notice is correct or incorrect. It's just that you're going to do something which is very important and a bad news is received by you. Now, how do I learn to manage that? If you already know that the bad news is an incorrect news, that it's a false news, then it's just using when then statement should be enough, right? A combination of when then and anchoring should work for the client. Because what is really happening is right now their mind has got stuck with the idea of a mail aaya, rather than focusing on what they're supposed to do right now. Yeah. So help teach them when then statement, do anchoring with them. That will actually at least help them focus on what they need to do right now, and then go back to working with whatever else they need to work with, whether it was a correct information or incorrect information, right? So to answer your question, आपका क्वेश्चन का आंसर देने के लिए द प्रोसेसेस जो आप यूज करेंगे वो रहेगा आपका वेन देन स्टेटमेंट और एंकरिंग, ताकि जो भी आपके दोस्त हैं वो फोकस कर पा रहे हैं उन चीजों के ऊपर जो उनको इमीडिएटली करना है, rather than the other things that can be addressed later on. Kushal, is this clear? अगर आपको कुछ follow up question पूछना तो पूछ सकते हैं.
जी सर, मान लो अगर वो नोटिस रियल भी होता तो फिर क्या सर?
तो भी आपका सोल्यूशन सिर्फ यही होता कि अब अगर नोटिस रियल है, अभी अगर मैं किसी एग्जाम के लिए जा रहा हूँ, वैसे भी मैं उस नोटिस को इमीडिएटली तो रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं कर सकता हूँ. दो ही चीजें ना, या तो मैं उसके बारे में कुछ इमीडिएटली कर सकता हूँ या मैं उसके बारे में कुछ इमीडिएटली नहीं कर सकता हूँ. अगर मैं इमीडिएटली कुछ कर सकता हूँ, देन आई नीड दैट प्रेजेंस ऑफ माइंड कि मैं इमीडिएटली इसका क्या करूँ. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इट कुड सिंपली बी दैट मैं अपने पार्टनर को फोन करके बोल सकता हूँ कि अच्छा आप ये नोटिस को देख सकती है क्या, मैं एग्जाम के लिए जा रहा हूँ. दिस इज वन एग्जाम्पल. बट देयर आई नीड टू बी काम इनफ टू थिंक. when will I be calm? When I am not too worried about the immediate notice that I have received. When I am more objective. And that वहां पे when then statement और anchoring काम आता है. So the moment you hear a news, so what I do with myself, right? कि अगर I get a news which is a probably negative news, my when then statement is when I hear a news which is negative, then I realize I just need time to figure out कि मुझे क्या करना. Now the moment that is my first thought, it doesn't hassle me as much as it will hassle me otherwise. मतलब अगर न्यूज सुन के मेरे दिमाग में आया शिट क्या करूंगा, कुछ कर पाऊंगा कि नहीं कर पाऊंगा, आई बी वरीड. मैंने न्यूज सुनी, मेल आया, नोटिस आया और मेरा फर्स्ट थॉट इज चल 10 मिनट रुक जा, जस्ट सोच के देखते हैं क्या करना है. आई एम दैट थॉट ऑटोमेटिकली मेक्स मी काम. So therefore when then statement by itself is good enough over here. If required, anchoring is a bonus. कि when then statement makes me slightly calmer and then anchoring kind of magnifies that anchor, that calmness. पुष्पाल, ये क्लियर है?
यस सर, वेरी हेल्पफुल, थैंक यू सर.
वेलकम. शिफा, कोई और भी क्वेश्चन था?
Yeah, there is a question. If you don't mind, can you discuss moral dissonance?
So moral dissonance will be someone who is indulging in a behavior which is not in sync with what they morally think is right. Right? For example, someone believes lying is wrong and they have to lie in a situation. So that will be a moral dissonance. I am operating in a way which is contradicting my moral compass. Now, why will I operate in a way like that? For a couple of reasons. One, moral compass generally comes from our values. But our values are not as simple as I have this value and I don't have this value, and I'll only operate as per my value and I'll not operate as per something which is against my value. Values have hierarchies, right? And they can be conflicting values. For example, मेरी एक value है that I should help people when they need help. Sounds positive by itself. A value that we should strive for. I have another value, you should not lie. Now, in order to help someone who's in trouble, I need to lie. What do? Do I lie or not lie? Because if I don't lie, I am not helping someone who needs help, which will then go against my moral compass. And if I lie and help them while I am sticking to one part of my values, the other part of my values are getting affected, because then I have to lie which I don't agree with. So many times, conflicting values, which may not be conflicting on the face of it, but because of the circumstances, they become conflicting, can create this dissonance also. In which case, you help the client create a hierarchy of values. What values are important in which order? So for their mind, there's a very clear set of guidelines that between lying and helping, which is a more important value, and that can change from people to people. For some people, helping can be more important, and for some people, being true can be more important. That's their personal moral compass. But you need the client to be able to define their hierarchy. When they define their hierarchy, you will notice that one of the primary reasons for this dissonance gets taken care of. Right? There could be certain other situations where either I stick to my moral values, right? Or I prevent something really bad happening. Which then again means that I have a value in my head saying that I need to prevent bad things from happening, or I can't let bad things happen if I can control that. So this will again to an extent boil down to value hierarchy. Is this clear? If you have questions, please ask or follow. Eventually, there will be a positive intention that I am receiving. Think of another situation. Ideally, I don't want to. So I don't think going out and drinking late night is good. But I'm in a relation with a partner who believes that if I need to be with them, I need to be willing to do this. Now, for me, that relationship is important. That partner is important. I personally feel my self-worth is defined by being with that partner. So if I don't do what my partner wants me to do, my partner may leave me. I will be all left alone. I don't want to be alone. So what do? Then it's again a competition. I stick to my moral values or I stay with my partner so that I'm not alone. Whichever is more important, I'll end up doing that. And the contradictory will cause a problem in me because I'm still giving up on something. So again, hierarchy will play an important role. What is more important? Clear till here? Any other questions? Nope. Any cases that we want to discuss? I already see some of the CHCP group people joining now. So if you have any case studies that you want to discuss, you can from the internship batch. Agar koi aur question, if there's any other questions that you want to ask, put it in the chat box or unmute yourself and ask. Either way is okay.
So we are still live.
So I'm just waiting if there are any questions from the internship group. No? All right. So till I finish the next set of instructions for everyone who's following us online, if you have any follow-up questions, think and ask me. I'll answer them. Meanwhile, we are already coming to the end of this particular Q&A session. For those of you, again, who have been following us online, if you have any questions, queries, feel free to put it in the chat. Shifa, go through all the social platforms so that you can have those questions in place also. And we will answer them along the way. If you're interested in the courses that we offer, check out the ICHARS website. There are some really interesting and remarkable courses available. Also, my recommendation is when you are looking for courses, please look for quality and support more than anything else. There are too many claims being made by too many organizations right now, so you need to be careful about whether those claims are right or wrong. So just be more mindful of why and what courses you're attending. If you are someone who has already attended multiple courses and have been miserable after attending those courses because you have not got your money's worth, then please stop attending all the other courses. Check out the ICHARS courses, join us. We offer 100% money back guarantee. So if by any chance you don't like the course that we offer, you still can take a money back and your money is not wasted any which ways. If I can offer this guarantee, then you can understand how confident we are about the quality of courses that we offer. So go ahead, explore, check, speak to us if you have any questions. We'll be more than happy to address any concerns. And then I look forward to seeing all of you in one of our courses. I'm going to go off the live streaming right now so that we can carry on this conversation with the internship students and the CHCP group for case discussions. So thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. See you all next week again or in one of the courses soon.